Hey, this is Lee coming to you with a video. And for those that do not know me, my name is Lee Crutch. I am a mom, a wife, real estate investor, network marketer. And I've committed to doing these videos for 90 days, but confession, I didn't do them for the last 3 days. I had a birthday party for my 5-year-old, team barbecue, which we had over 100 plus people, and just a very busy Labor Day weekend. But I didn't quit, so here I am picking up where I left off. This is also, I'm reading what I'm going to talk about today. This is also my mom's 11th year since she passed. So I wanted to share with you today a little bit about my mom. 7 things about my mom. Number one, she was a wife and a mom. She stayed at home with us. She was one of the smartest women I ever met. She was tough and she was very loving at the same time. Number one, don't go to a young lady's home without calling. When I was younger, young men used to come to my house, in the teenage years. They used to stop by without calling. I remember one time someone knocked on my door, said, "Is Lee home?" And she said, "Did you call?" And I was standing right by the door. And he said, "Well, no, I didn't." And she said, "You do not go to a young lady's house without first announcing yourself. She could be busy. She could have other company. That's something you don't do. So you have a good evening." And I was like, oh my God. I was standing right there. 4 years later, I think I was like in my early 20s, someone came by without announcing themselves. And I said, "You didn't call me first." So eventually that stuck in my head and I learned to respect that. So if you're a grown man and you have sons, do not go to a young lady's house without calling first. Number 2, don't beep the horn when picking a young lady up. Do not beep the horn. Boop, boop. If you're going out, do not beep the horn. I do remember that very, very clearly, and I will be teaching my daughter these same things. My mom was a diva. She kept herself together. And to be honest with you, if she was alive today, she would be the queen of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and any other social media site under the sun. And she kept herself together. That was my mom. Number 4, kids, if you can't hear, you must feel. If you can't hear, you must feel. And a lot of times I think of my mom when dealing with my kids. My first thought is, what will my mother do? 2 incidences I can think of. The lighters, fire. Well, my mother taught us not to touch the fire. And she would light a match and say, "You want to touch it? Come here, touch it, touch it, touch it. You want to touch it?" It scared us half to death that we never wanted to mess with fire. And I did the same thing to my 2 boys. I caught them. They were messing with a lighter. And I did the same thing to them. I did a little bit worse. I would never have done it, but just the fear and the thought that they could get burned by me put the fear in them, and they never did it again. I also did that recently, about 6 months ago, with the new garbage disposal. There's a button. And for me to not have to worry about it, I introduced them to the button. I told them what could happen if they stuck their hand or anything else, God forbid. I told them what could happen. Then I turned it on and I said, "Come here. That you want to do it? If you get the urge right out of the way, I'm standing here. Let's do it and get it over with. Just press the button." They were so petrified to press the button. My oldest son was laughing, and I had to tell him stop laughing because he's older, he knows better, he's not allowed to touch it. But the 2 younger ones, petrified of the button now. So kids, if you can't hear, you must feel. And you don't really have to feel, just the thought of them feeling it kind of deters them. Works like a charm. I worked with all her grandkids, and that was my mom. Keep your standards high. Number 5. Keep your standards high. I was a fairly good student in high school. I was in honors, math, and English through junior high school, and kind of fell off in high school, and I had no interest, but I always did pretty well without studying. I would get a B. I remember one time I got a B plus in the class, and I brought it home, and she said, "Why didn't you get an A?" And I was like, ugh. Even my SATs, if you remember your SAT scores, I got a 1020. Night before, I was like, listen, either I know it, or I don't. So I was happy with the 1020. Thrilled with the 1020. She wanted me to take it over. She always pushed me to do more, and one thing she used to say to me, you can do anything you put your mind to. You can do anything you put your mind to. So my mother forced me to push myself and keep my standards high. I'm sure her being a valedictorian kind of helped with that. Number 6, she did not put up with stuff. She did not put up with stuff. To give you an example, and me and my sister were just going over this the other day. I have 2 older sisters, and she cut their hair when they were younger. She cut their hair because they got hold of scissors and they cut their own hair. They had to be like 7 and 8 or 7 and 9 because they're about 15 to 18 months apart. I can't remember. I was younger. I'm the youngest of 3. And she cut their hair. But me growing up, seeing the pictures, hilarious. They had afros. My sister said that she was traumatized, but she said to me, you want to cut your hair? Let me show you what cutting your hair was like. That was my mom. Number 6, that was it. She did not put up with stuff. I mean, another story. Don't mess with my mother's kids. And one time, my sisters were in high school. Somebody was messing with them on the bus. And she went to the bus stop. She pulled the kid off the bus and threw the young man against the fence. And my mom was very well known. She was very well known, so she didn't have to worry about police or anything. But needless to say, that young man never bothered my sisters again. I can be here on and on and on about things my mother did to protect her family, but I don't want to scare you people. So, that was number 6. Number 7, I don't have it written down, but my mom was tough, she was loving, and she opened her door to anybody. She opened her door to anybody. She opened her heart to anybody. If anybody needed a place to stay, they stayed with my mom and dad. So that's my mom. She's very much alive in our memories. We're always talking about her, even when she made us mad. So it's been 11 years. I miss her daily. I think about my mom. And I did good. I got through this video and I didn't cry at all. But her name was Alice Elizabeth Fitzgerald. She was 58 when she passed away. She was a smoker. My children, I'm doing a video. My children ask about her. So she's very much talked about all the time because she left such a tremendous impression upon a lot of people. And I'm sure of you that have lost a parent have great memories of your mom or dad. But one last story. I was 17 years old. I left out of the house with a young man that she didn't particularly care for, and I was so innocent. We just went to the movies, and one thing led to another, and we missed the first movie, we missed the next movie. I ended up going to, I think, a 1 a.m. movie, so I didn't get home until maybe 2:30. No, I got home at 1 o'clock, and I had these big gold earrings. And my sisters knew where I was. My older cousin, she was living with us, they knew where I was, so I didn't think nothing of it. But I think it's because she didn't like this particular young man, and I was just going to the movies. But when I got home, she punched me in my ear, and by the door there was a freezer, and I hit my head. And my mom had a mouth, so she just said, "Where were you?" I'm going to paraphrase. Those weren't the words that she used, but she hit me 3 times. Bang. Bang. She punched me in my ear. And my ear wrong, like a movie. Woo. But looking back, and actually the next day, knowing my mother, I should have known better than to leave the house. But I thought that was kind of funny. Even then, I didn't cry. I'm like, man, I'm wrong. But I guess when you're young, you don't think until you get in trouble. But that was a funny story. Even the next day I went to school, I'm like, listen, my mom don't play. This is what she did, and I'm punished. So, that's my mom, Alice Elizabeth Fitzgerald, 58 years old when she passed away. Her birthday's coming up too, September 18th. So, I hope you got some tips, especially if you have children. And sometimes looking at this video camera, you feel like you're looking at a mirror. See, I have puffy eyes. I'm tired. When I get tired, I have puffy eyes. But I'm not going to drag this out any long. That was my mom. 7 things about my mom, and I hope you can use some of them. This is Lee. Until the next video, God bless.